Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes to really wherever our whims take us. Are you ready to take a journey through the birth of a whim? Of course you are. So recently at the time of this recording, we were discussing Punchline and the Joker's daughter, who were featured over in Red Hood and the Outlaws, Jason's comic where he hangs out with a team of misfits. At the start of Rebirth, that was Artemis and Bizarro. And as I was dealing with that, I was thinking, Artemis. She was Wonder Woman for like 2 seconds, wasn't she? Yes, she was. The Wonder Woman that resulted in Diana having that biker shorts outfit with BDSM harness. The harness for reasons. Also, she had a great bob, a straight edge bob. Who was Artemis and why was she Wonder Woman? Why did that make Diana feel that she had to wear that much maligned 90s costume? But hey, costume changes are a matter of taste. Some people hate the Wonder Woman pants and jacket with a passion. Most characters have an, oh my god, what are they wearing moment. And there's usually one that popular consensus demands that you like or dislike that you'll have a different opinion on. What's yours? Share down below. I'm not gonna lie, I don't hate the biker look. The story of how Artemis became Wonder Woman is an interesting one, so let's go on that journey together. But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're feeling so inclined, hit that join button, which is down there next to the subscribe button, or in the description. It helps us make more content, and you get some nice emojis. Also a little icon next to your name. Some people have graduated to being salt monsters, which I mean, they said there was only one left, but it's our true form. But whatever you choose to do, we're about to go on an adventure. Artemis of Bana-Mighdall was introduced in Wonder Woman issue 90 in 1994 and was created by William Messner-Loebs and Mike Deodato. The 90s was an interesting time for Wonder Woman. Actually, just anything past Crisis on Infinite Earths. In 1985, the character of Wonder Woman was retconned and rebooted with a new origin that saw her coming to man's world far later than pre-Crisis. Her book's tone was taken in a new direction, far more focused on the mythological aspect. So you had big stories about her and the gods. This change was helmed initially by George Perez, and many consider his era on Wonder Woman to be a high point in the comics. However, authors don't stay on books forever, and after Perez left, Wonder Woman didn't always have a consistent creative team. People would sometimes be brought on to do arcs that were supposed to be a certain length but would end up being longer or shorter. Things happen. Things could change based on the response you were getting. This Artemis's Wonder Woman deal was over pretty quickly. It was meant to be a shakeup, you know, one of those shocking, oh my god, Diana's not Wonder Woman anymore. Say it ain't so. Le gasp. How will she get her name back? Not that she ever really got a new name. However, these stories really overplay Artemis's abrasiveness, and it's a hard sell to pick up a book called Wonder Woman and the character going by that name is not the one you're familiar with. Not only that, but your protagonist is still there, but she's got a new look, not a new name, and at times it feels like she's being a bit sidelined or that they're forcing this other character to be there as well. It was not as seamless an execution as it potentially could have been. The arc in question where all this occurs starts with a storyline called The Contest. In it, Hippolyta, mother of Diana, would utilize a trope known in fandom as A+ parenting to try and convince Diana that she was doing a terrible job as Wonder Woman and was a poor emissary and representative of the people of Themyscira to man's world, and that indeed she needed to hold a contest to find a new Wonder Woman. Why was she doing this? Well, Hippolyta was having horrible visions that Wonder Woman was going to die, so she figured she would find a prophecy or vision loophole. If she could stop Diana from being Wonder Woman, then whoever was Wonder Woman would be the one who died, because the prophecy / vision was about Wonder Woman, not Diana specifically. And if she scars her emotionally in the process, then so be it. That's a sacrifice she's willing to make. Artemis entered the picture as a member of a rival Amazonian tribe, the Bana-Mighdalls, a tribe who had migrated away from Greece and settled elsewhere, in their case, Egypt. Artemis's tribe was initially ruled by Queen Hippolyta of Themyscira's sister Antiope, and unlike the main Amazons, didn't have immortality. So they would mate with human men to continue their line. After they set up a city surrounded by a permanent sandstorm, they would have to get men into it in an alternate fashion. So they would get these men by trading their weapons or warrior skills for slaves. Artemis's backstory would be fleshed out over time, but at the start she was introduced as a rival and counterpoint to Diana. Wonder Woman loses the contest to Artemis in issue 92. Also, dang, Artemis's battle gear is giving Red Sonja a run for her money. Here's a sample of how Artemis is portrayed in contrast to Diana. Why are they cheering us? We defeated them, humiliated them, took away their chance. They competed for the fun of it, Artemis. They're happy for us. They may even like you. Accept it. Impossible. I'd have thought so too, but I almost like you. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. The weight of virtue keeps holding you back, princess. Why do writers think that showing someone has a tough exterior by making them a jerk to your main character will endear them to people? It so rarely works. There has to be a lot going on with the character outside of that, because then you've already set up an uphill battle. People are usually reading the book because they enjoy the protagonist. So if you have somebody come in and be all like, I'm better than you and I don't like you, it often doesn't play very well. Some people are going to go for it, but it's more likely that the vast majority won't. And how a character is first presented can linger. Some people never get past that point, no matter how they're portrayed later. Then you have to get people on board if they're jumping on at a later point. Artemis is the new Wonder Woman, forever. Look, yes, the whole "this character is gone forever" thing is normally a gimmick, but don't threaten people with it. That just raises people's hackles and they worry that it's gonna stick, because even though most of the time it doesn't, it's always when you're least expecting it that it stays permanent. Issue 93 gives us this glorious cover and introduces the world at large to Wendy's new costume and Artemis as Wonder Woman. Artemis, now that you have proven yourself worthy to carry our message of peace and love into Patriarch's world, I also accept you into my heart as a sister and a daughter. A+ parenting. So throughout the contest, Wonder Woman was having visions of her mom and her mother's sister, her aunt, and she learned the dark secret of her mother's betrayal, which is part of why she ultimately decided to distance herself from Themyscira, her mom, and the Wonder Woman mantle, or why she seemed more okay with giving it up. Also, she was, upset about how everything went down. Artemis makes her debut as Wonder Woman, fighting one of the most 90s looking villains I've seen. Do you think he has enough ammo belts? I'm just not sure. Thanks for the help, but there's no room here for indies. Oh, was that a dig about creators breaking off and creating their own content? I think it might have been. That sounded like a dig, or perhaps I'm reading it that way in retrospect, but I'm pretty sure. Diana shows up to help Artemis in her new costume. That got made really quickly, unless more time has passed than they let on. But I like to think that Diana just had this, but had no opportunity to wear it. One day, I want to be an edgy biker chick. I just need the opportunity. You certainly took your time, princess. You're welcome. This issue does take a stab at explaining why Diana still has the Wonder Woman insignia on her costume in places if she's not Wonder Woman. She wears it to honor when Diana Rockwell Trevor saved Themyscira, and for that you need to read a specific annual. There's even a little editor's note with the asterisk. But for our purposes, what you need to know is that she's still gonna have the W's on her costume, which on a meta level is obviously so that you can still identify that she's Wonder Woman and not some random new character. Diana was also now going to entertain business ventures that she wouldn't have before as Wonder Woman because of the Amazonian Code. It was depicted in canon as her breaking away from her mother's influence. She was rebelling. You saw the harness and the haircut. Okay, so while that's going on, what's life like at DC with Artemis as Wonder Woman? Well, the time she was Wonder Woman was encompassed in an arc known as the Challenge of Artemis. Whether that's a challenge for her or for you as a reader, that's for you to decide. It lasted from issues 94 to issue 100. Artemis takes a very different approach to being Wonder Woman, one that lacks compassion and fails to take in the potential nuance of certain situations. She likes to rush in and solve things with her fists and giant thighs of justice. I will succeed. Unfortunately, my sister allowed herself to become enmeshed in personality conflicts and side issues. I will not. From this day forth, I will fight to end oppression of women and destruction of children. And since aggression and hatred towards women is great evil, my first priority will be to end the violence that mars the world's society. So yeah, Artemis is militant and has no chill. And she does things like judge survivors of domestic abuse for not fighting back, which causes one of the women to put herself in harm's way when a hostile situation breaks out, ultimately dying because she wants to impress Artemis. Now, at first it's played like Artemis is super effective. She's taking these social issues on head on and getting results. She's taken names, and it's making Diana question whether she was ever effective in the first place, or maybe she had the wrong approach. However, this arc doesn't exactly go where you're thinking it might. You might be thinking it's gonna follow the trope of Artemis will realize man's world is more complicated than it first appeared, and there was a reason for Diana's less hands-on, more negotiation and inspirational style approach. That's not what happens. It turns out that the PR firm that Artemis hired so that she could have a good image and a different image from Diana was actually headed by the White Magician, and as a result, a lot of the situations she was facing were staged, fake, hired actors in some cases. Only a couple of the things she did were real. However, Artemis is a proud person and she's furious at being set up. So she plans to take down the big mob boss, Juliana Sazia. And that leads to a giant robot battle that you don't really need to know about, but it's cool, so I wanted to tell you about it because giant robots. The big confrontation comes when she tries to take down the white magician. He transforms himself into a demon, which makes him too much for Artemis to take on her own, and she is worn down by the time that Diana and Circe show up to help. Yes, Circe, it was complicated. There was a lot going on. Artemis ultimately sacrifices herself so that Diana can win, and she declares that Diana is the one true Wonder Woman. Artemis? Is he dead? Yes. Good. Take back your uniform, Diana. I have dishonored it. My ambition, my arrogance nearly got us both killed. You are Wonder Woman. Your arrogance was one of your most appealing features, little sister. I won't disparage it. We have the whole look. You can see the Elysian fields. I see only the gold. That TNG episode is underrated. Fight me. Now listen, I'm no prude, and I enjoy some strategic peekaboo rips as much as the next person. But this is a lot. Did we need the rip on the Wonder Woman bottoms? Did we? A lot of the art in this whole arc is going hard, shall we say. On the men too, don't think they're left out. Cake for all, even when you're having a heartfelt death scene. It's one of those things, cheesecake. Sometimes you notice it and sometimes you don't. And for me, during this entire arc, it just went to that point where I was noticing it quite a bit. We all have different thresholds and reactions to stuff like this. It leaves me so torn because I find the style itself so beautiful and then wham! For me, in this arc, it was to the point where at times it was distracting and taking away from the storyline. That's my opinion. What's yours? Wow, Diana's coat was really high quality. Sure, it ripped, but a lot less than you would expect during a demon fight. So that was issue 100, and the next issue, 101, Diana is back as Wonder Woman, triumphant on the cover, and we have a new creative team. A new artist and writer, John Byrne, who stayed for a decent length of time until issue 136. So the total amount of time from Artemis's first appearance to her death, 10 issues. That's in the main Wonder Woman comic. She did also briefly appear over in other comics like Justice League of America. There, the other members didn't like her, and Batman refused to let her sit in Wonder Woman's chair, which I'm of two minds of. I'm like, yeah, because she's not Diana. But also, I felt bad, and that's not very professional, Batman. But I mean, I don't expect professionalism from Batman. This was the start of the Batman-Artemis beef, by the way. Artemis was sent to hell and would have some small arcs, but she had entered the now what do we do with her category of characters, at least until Rebirth, where they changed her up and removed her from this starting point. A starting point which had given her an uphill battle. She's much more endearing when she's introduced as a member of the Outlaws. A kind of oh, she's a misfit. They're all misfits. The arc of her as Wonder Woman is not great. It's trying to split its time between that, but also still keep the focus on Diana because it's her book, and so most would rather be reading about her. Artemis is still treated as a support, which makes Wonder Woman a support in her own book, in a way. She's set up as the opposite to Diana, using methods that Diana would never use, and having an attitude and stance that was very foreign and would come across as aggressive, and that definitely didn't endear her to everyone. That's my word of the video, by the way. There's always one. Even if you liked her, she was the type of character who you could see why some wouldn't, even though it's rare to find people who will admit that about their faves. People out here riding and dying for fictional characters. Because, you know, they can come to mean a lot to you. No judgment unless you go too far. Then, a sad, disappointed head shake. I'm not angry. Just disappointed. This storyline could have been better than it was. It had some real questions to ask and commentaries to make about Wonder Woman's role. Was she effective enough? Was she making a difference? Was a more aggressive approach necessary? There was something interesting about Artemis's stance and approach, her kind of raise the ground attitude when entering situations. It could have been interestingly handled narratively, especially when she was dealing with more complex scenarios, like when she was accidentally shaming victims. How would her attitude mesh with world governments, who Diana was trying to negotiate and work with? What about how she was trying to build a very different brand for herself? This was a certain touch of Wonder Woman having to deal with actual organizations to navigate the real world. But those things are briefly touched upon and not fully explored. Not that there's time to go that deep when you essentially have 7 issues where Artemis is Wonder Woman. All the ideas surrounding Artemis as Wonder Woman are interesting. They're just not brought forward in the best way. Instead, you get a setup that makes you just really want Diana back and make her show Artemis how it's done. Ditch the biker shorts, get the swimsuit bottoms back. New ones though, because because those old ones are ripped now.
Artemis and characters like her can be quite useful. They can be narratively intriguing and provide a nice counterpoint to the audience.
To have characters who aren't villains but don't like or agree with the protagonists. They can be interesting sounding boards or just make the world feel more fleshed out. Artemis still doesn't like Wonder Woman that much in the Rebirth era, even if the connection is less direct. More Amazons that we know getting storylines, please. Now, of course, I read the storyline after it came out, so all at once. No waiting, which is a very different experience from having it come out one issue at a time and having that gap in between. When that's happening, you see fan opinions kind of evolving in real time. So it's easier to have an overview opinion of Artemis now when you're further removed from that.
At the same time, I can see why for some the fact that Artemis was ever Wonder Woman has been completely forgotten.
Nowadays, it feels just like a blip. Blink and you'll miss it. If you were reading at the time, how did you feel about it? In general, how do you feel about the idea of Artemis as Wonder Woman, or just having a different Wonder Woman? Bad idea or a poorly executed one?
Were you distracted by the amount of cheesecake going on during this arc?
Did you like Wonder Woman's biker shorts? Share all your opinions down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.